2005 Honda Accord. Honda Accord LX. Front brakes and rotors. I'll show you how to do this. Yes, it is already been torn apart. We'll show you some stuff as we put it back together. It's the reverse procedure to install and reverse to take apart. 17 millimeter for almost every single one of these nuts that I know of. 17 millimeter, and I was doing a CV joints too, so 17 millimeter is what I use for the calipers. Hold down bolts right here. 17 millimeter for these two. I will replace these pads too. We'll show you that, but we're doing the rotor, so we wanted to get access to these 4 bolts in here. 4 12 millimeter bolts. Now what we're going to do is we're going to loosen them, and then when they're loose and we have maybe a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, we're going to take a hammer to them and pound on them to use the threads and the bolts to drive this rotor and hub assembly out. So let's get going on this. So we've got our 4 bolts loose. It actually looks like it might be easier to take the CV axle out, or just go ahead and take these off. Whoa, back up. Always loosen up these nuts and take a hammer and pound firmly a few times on here, and then usually you see this will drop. It hasn't dropped yet because I haven't banged on it. And that goes the same for the tie rod end and the lower ball joint. Already pounded on it right here, and the ball joint was obviously bouncing up and down. You can always check it, take a few smacks at it, and then just try and lift up on it. Lift up, pretty easy. So we have our 4 bolts loose, and we're going to take a hammer to it. Actually I have an air hammer. Take an air hammer to it and try and push those bolts, and that'll force this assembly out. Going to tell you right now from watching me do that, you need to put a socket on here so you don't bang up the heads like I did. We'll just clean those up with a file and make them good. So just an example of what not to do. We'll put our 14 millimeter socket on here and bang away for a little while. That's going to be the best way. Or if you have access to an air hammer, take an air hammer to that. I'll show you how that works here in a minute. should be loose enough. I'm going to take these bolts out the rest of the way and clean them up, and we'll be right back getting this thing out the rest of the way. Well, so I pulled the bolts out and it actually fell out, so it was obviously loose. There's the hub and the rotor. We'll clean this up a little bit here and show you the new rotor that we'll put on. So I'm going to take some sandpaper or whiz wheel and clean out in here, make it clean, and then also around here I'll do the same, just make things nice and clean. Maybe clean this up a little bit here for the new rotor. See how the rotor comes off like that. I'll just line up the holes for 14mm bolts. Holds it in place. Where I recognize this side with bolts in it. About 40 foot-pounds for these bolts right here. So again, we're just going to clean this up and then we'll bolt it together. You can see it's kind of not even on all sides, so just match up the pattern right there. Got our 4 bolts. I did clean up the edges. Got this in place. We're just going to put these in. So you can see, got the bolts started. Put a little anti-seize in there too to maybe make it easier at some point in the future if need be, and go together easier. So these are only about 33 foot-pounds for these. So we'll just tighten these up and it'll draw in the assembly. Now we'll just line up the lower ball joint and put the shaft in the hole there.